Servus Freunde, my name is Jimmy Cage and The Dark Crystal is like the ultimate movie for my childhood, that I've only seen for the very first time when I was already 33 years old. Yeah, this is one that I somehow never stumbled upon and I just saw it for the first time a few weeks ago. But when I finally and also rather randomly saw it, I was instantly captivated. Captivated in a way I haven't been for a long time. And ever since that few weeks ago I keep on telling everyone around me what an incredible experience it was, and as you might wonder, this experience and new awoken passion was continued through the 10-episode Netflix series Age of Resistance that I pretty much binged the last couple of days. I still have a hard time to grasp the fact that something as impressive, magical, creative, but also wonderfully dark, twisted and crazy just exists on Netflix for the whole world to discover. So I thought the original 1982 movie would be a perfect pick for my next classic movie review. If this review just reaches a few people out there who also haven't seen the film yet and afterwards think it sounds like something they might enjoy as well, I have done my job here. And if you enjoy the film, which is also just 90 minutes long, you should probably enjoy the mini-series as well. And though Netflix almost never gives away its numbers, just looking at the amount of votes on IMDb led me think way too few people have actually seen it. And with the amount of talent and effort that went into it, that's a shame. But let's go back to the movie that actually started it. The Dark Crystal is a 1982 puppet-animated dark fantasy adventure film that was directed by the two legendary puppeteers Jim Henson and Frank Oz. It was the first live-action movie without any human characters. All characters are puppets, and it took about 5 years for the whole project to come alive. It was a tremendous achievement, and almost 40 years later, it's still super impressive if you have an understanding of what it takes to pull something like this off. I think most puppeteers will tell you that one of their goals is to make the audience forget about the fact that they are just watching puppets. They want to make you believe in the characters as if they are real persons. And usually we tend to do that very easily because we want to believe. Or to say the other way around, we want to suspend our disbelief. But I think with puppets, even more so than with other storytelling and movie making devices, we not only know that something is created, but we also pretty much know how it was done. But if it's done as well as it's done in The Dark Crystal, we can also imagine how hard it must have been, and this creates an instant amazement and appreciation. Of course, the film and filmmakers want us to focus on the story, the world and the characters first and foremost, but at least I can't help but being constantly in awe about the level of craftsmanship and the amount of detail and love behind every little scene. The Dark Crystal opens up this whole new world, and I have joked to some of my friends that this property has become my new Star Wars over the course of the last weeks. Instead of a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, The Dark Crystal begins with a narrator introducing us to
another world, another time, in the age of wonder.
I think the story of the film is the perfect mixture of being simple enough and yet extremely rich in history and lore. At its core, it's a hero's journey. The young gelfling Jen, who believes he's the last of his kind, has to travel a dangerous land to find the missing shard of a magical crystal and bring it to that big crystal, which is kept at the Dark Castle and whose mysterious powers are abused by malevolent creatures called the Skeksis. They are actually the very first characters we are introduced to, which instantly gets you intrigued. For me, they are easily the best part of the film as well as the series. They are these grotesque looking bird/reptile kind of creatures, and each one of them has their own unique appearance and personality. They have names like Skeksil, Skektek or Skekna, but they are also addressed by their profession or function, the ritual master, the scientist, or easily the most iconic and the one with the most important role in the film, the Chamberlain. He is like the Grima Wormtongue of this universe, always scheming, always trying to use the right words to make things happen the way he wants them to happen. He also has the most iconic voice of them all, and I caught myself trying to sound like him dozens of times in the last weeks. He was voiced and performed by Frank Oz himself, and in the new series it's Simon Pegg who's giving an outstanding and immensely entertaining performance. It is just so much fun to watch Chamberlain and the other Skeksis. You could also do a drinking game and take a shot whenever Chamberlain goes. But I can tell you, it probably won't end well for you. The Dark Crystal has this very clear-cut good versus evil theme. The series incorporates more grey areas and characters that turn sides, while it also double downs on the portrayal of evil. I actually love that about the film and its characters. It is creating this mythological tale, and the Skeksis are such great villains. Villains that absolutely look the part. You look at the Skeksis and you know he's an evil being, and you also know and cherish in the fact that the Skeksis love being evil. Sure, you know the saying that evil people don't think of themselves being evil, but that they actually are doing the right thing. Well, I think the Skeksis know they are evil, and it's a delight to watch them. This is something that can be achieved so well with puppets, because puppets have this particular quality, a certain purity if you will. They are crafted in a way that can express exactly what its creator intended. Pure evil, pure wisdom, pure goodness. Yet the film never gets too campy or cheesy, because the craftsmanship is way too good for that, and everything is handled in a serious and honest way. What I also love so much about this film is that it takes place in a dying world. The narrator lets us know right at the beginning that the land was green and good. But that was 1,000 years ago. Now everything seems to have died, lay in ruins, is going to be extinct. The Skeksis symbolize this rotten aristocracy, this greed that has sucked the land dry, this hubris of unlimited power and everlasting life, while they are actually rotten to the core and more like walking death. At the very beginning, the Emperor, the leader of the Skeksis, is dying, and if you haven't got it until that point, this is the moment you know this ain't just your typical children's movie. Yeah, there are several instances where I just couldn't believe how dark this film is, which is another factor why I declare that it would have been an absolute crucial and influential movie of my childhood, as it apparently is for many other people. It's one of those movies that aren't afraid to scare children, and most children like being scared a little bit. And I love movies that enable me to feel like a child again for its runtime. The Dark Crystal is so dense with atmosphere, so full of wondrous moments and scenes. It's hard to resist its charm. It's the perfect movie to watch covered by a thick warm blanket, maybe with a fire or at least some candles in the background. Brian Froud was the conceptual designer, and he came up with pretty much everything you see on screen, from the creatures to the landscapes, right down to the font of the opening titles. He gave the film a lot of its heart and soul, and he also came back to work on the Netflix series, which really shows. I have to point out again how wonderful this movie is to look at. If you have any passion for this kind of practical effects and 80s movie making magic, you will certainly love a lot of it. There are these beautiful sets full of fascinating flora and fauna, and everywhere you look there is something that feels real and beautifully crafted and designed at the same time. When I watched the film for a second time last week and showed it to a friend, I said to her that I could watch a fake nature documentary filled with all this beautiful fake nature for hours. In that regard, it also reminded me quite a bit of 1984's Hayao Miyazaki anime classic Nausicaa of the Valley of the Winds. In both movies we find this dying world that still got these beautiful, somehow hidden spots of strange nature and animal life. And if I wasn't already enough in love, that scene is followed by a beautifully disgusting dinner scene filled with Skeksis being evil and vile. Again, the production design alone and the level of detail are so impressive. Now I could go on and on about a lot of different aspects and also how hard it was to pull them off. I definitely recommend looking up the 1983 making of The World of the Dark Crystal to get a better understanding of the magnitude of this production. A last thing for now that I have to praise is the magical score by Trevor Jones that perfectly matches the darkness and wonder of the story and world of The Dark Crystal. The whole film oozes atmosphere and it's so immersive. 1982 really was an outstanding year for pop culture, sci-fi, fantasy, with the releases of E.T., The Thing, Poltergeist, Tron, Blade Runner, Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, The Secret of Nim, and last but certainly not least, The Dark Crystal. Now, this review is already pretty long and yet we are not completely done, because I have some criticism as well that keeps it from being even greater. In other films these flaws would probably break them, but since The Dark Crystal has so much going for it, I can live with it. My biggest and almost only problem with this film are the two main characters, the two gelflings Jen and Kira. I think the Skeksis are fantastic and their counterparts, the Mystics, are also fascinating. But our heroes, our adventurers on the other hand, are unfortunately not much more interesting than two potatoes. They are rather bland and their faces often not able to express as much emotion as needed. There are also some moments in which we hear the inner monologue as voiceover narration, which comes across a bit clumsy and reminded me of David Lynch's adaptation of Dune. I'm very happy to say though that the series improves a lot on all of the Gelfling characters. So in German I'd say, der dunkle Kristall ist ein wundervoller Fantasy-Klassiker und ziemlich sicher der ultimative Puppenfilm. Was hier auf die Beine gestellt wurde, ist einfach unglaublich beeindruckend, immersiv, herrlich düster und einfach magisch. I give The Dark Crystal 8 out of 10. It's more like 8.3, but I don't do that. So that's it for today. As always, let me know what you think of The Dark Crystal, and I really hope that I made you want to check out the film if you have never seen it before. And I would really recommend starting with the film and then trying the series. The story of the series takes place before the film, but as all prequel things are concerned, I would always suggest going in order of production. Until next time, you can hit me up on Twitter, Instagram and Letterboxd simply at TheJimmyCage. And if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up, share, subscribe, whatever you like, and make sure you hit that bell for Life to Tell.